Amaka was a plus-sized girl, and after the death of her father, she always helped her mom in the village kitchen, preparing meals and selling to customers. But that was not all to Amaka. Amaka was also very intelligent. She got a free scholarship to study in a culinary school. She did so well that she eventually graduated with a first-class degree as a chef. Soon after she left school, she opened up her own online business where she made thousands of sales and had about 130,000 followers. She also was very good in social media management, and so her business was thriving. She was making jollof rice to various customers. Sometimes in a day, she would have about 50 people requesting for a meal. She enjoyed herself until she volunteered in an all-girls school where she taught them food and nutrition just to make sure that the girls are engaged and happy. She was loved by all in her community, and often she would greet everyone happily. Everyone wondered how such a beautiful girl like Amaka was so humble and kind. She often volunteered as a teacher, and so she met Adanne. Adanne was a young adolescent girl who was still trying to figure herself out. She had often told Adanne to stop wearing a full face of makeup to school, but she wouldn't listen. So the last time she wore a full face of makeup, she was sent back home because of such behavior. But when Amaka was on her way home after school hours, she saw Adanne chatting happily with a man on the road. To her greatest surprise, she felt that Adanne had gone home, but had decided to come back tomorrow. But here she was, frolicking with a man on the busy road. When she met Adanne, she spoke to her sternly. "Adanne, why are you here speaking to this man?" Amaka said angrily, and offered to take her home to her father where she will report her to her parents. On getting to Adanne's home, she realized that Adanne's mother was late and she was just raised by her father. Her father thanked Amaka and told her how difficult it had been for him to be raising Amaka on his own. They shared a lot in common, and soon they exchanged numbers and started hanging out together. They usually went to a club together. Sometimes they hung out in the club and just had a great time with each other. Amaka could not believe that through her students she was able to meet a man like Nnamdi. Nnamdi Okafor was a successful business owner. He owned a bread factory which was doing well. Amaka was surprised because she had seen this bread everywhere and had even bought some for herself. She enjoyed it and was so surprised to find out that Danny's father was actually the owner. Amaka visited the bread factory very often, and soon she helped them to formulate a lot of recipes that became bestsellers. Even when Amaka and Nnamdi quarreled, they never let it get to them, and soon they were all hugging and kissing again. Amaka was so homely that she would make different meals and just generate different recipes for his business to grow. Nnamdi could not believe that all his life he had missed out on such a woman because he had kept away from dating after the passing of his wife. Amaka started coming to their home and making meals for them, and Adanne was more than happy to have her around. She would stay and serve them food, and they were just eating like one happy family. Everyone was so happy to see Nnamdi move on because he had been mourning his wife for so long. One Valentine's Day, while they were at dinner, Nnamdi finally proposed to Amaka. Amaka was so happy and so overjoyed that they planned their wedding in a haste and they got married. Everyone was so happy to have such a lovely family living happily together. Soon after the wedding, they started living together and Amaka and Adanne bonded. Adanne finally saw her as her own mother, and not quite long after that, Amaka announced that she was having a child. To the surprise of her husband, who often thought that he was infertile, because after the birth of Adanne, he had an accident and the doctor said that he might not have a child again. And since then, he tried to have kids with his late wife but couldn't, so he assumed that he was infertile. His brother Henry Okafor was so angry that Amaka was pregnant because that means that it might be an heir and all of Nnamdi's property will not be his again. This was a shocker to him because he had prayed that Nnamdi did not see anyone else to marry, and so he could take over all of his properties. But this was getting very difficult because Amaka was now pregnant and carrying a child of his brother Nnamdi Okafor. Henry had a conversation with his brother Nnamdi. He told him that, "Are you sure that this baby Amaka is carrying is yours?" But Nnamdi was so sure that Amaka could not behave in such a terrible way. So he told his brother that this was definitely his child and he wouldn't want to stress Amaka or make her feel unwanted. Henry angrily went to the doctor he told to make Nnamdi infertile. "Hey, Mr. Doctor, I thought I told you to make sure that his infertility is permanent. But here he is having a child with his new wife." The doctor replied, "I was not going to make it permanent because I'm not a devil. I only gave him pills that will make him infertile for a period of time. That is what you paid me for. The money you gave me was just 50,000 naira, and here you are claiming that you paid me such a huge amount of money. If you make a lot of noise here, I'll make sure that I tell your brother everything that you've done behind him." Henry, upon hearing that, quickly went back home and planned on what to do to avert this problem. Amaka was so overjoyed with her bundle of joy. She ensured that she took care of her family, she ensured that everyone was happy, and she had registered for an antenatal and that she attended with her husband. On one sunny afternoon, they went for an antenatal, but coming back, Amaka was so tired. Then Henry Okafor volunteered to prepare a meal just for her. After she had the meal and slept off, in the night she woke up with alert and noticed that she was bleeding. When she rushed into the bathroom, the bleeding became worse and she had to be rushed to the hospital, where she was told that she had miscarried and lost her baby. She was so sad and she cried bitterly for days and no one could console her. Nnamdi tried to console his wife with all he had in him. On one afternoon, his brother, Henry, came to visit and told him that they should go out and have a few drinks. But unknown to Nnamdi, Henry had paid a waitress at the restaurant to add poison to his drink, which would kill him immediately he got home. After a few hours of drinking, they eventually got home and went to bed. The next morning, Amaka tried to wake up her husband. My love, Amaka called, but Nnamdi did not reply. She tried to wake him violently, but still he did not wake up, and that was when she realized that the old hands of death had finally touched her husband. She cried bitterly and called on the families members and all their relatives to come to her aid. Her husband was dead, and that was a reality for Amaka. When he was rushed to the hospital, they certified that he was dead and that he died of poisoning. Amaka was the only suspect because everyone knew that he enjoyed her meal and she was a chef, so she often cooked all the meals they ate. It was hard to believe that she didn't have a hand in the death of her husband. After the burial of her husband, Amaka would usually go to the graveside to cry. But the elders consoled her and told her to go back home. She went back to the city in the company of Henry Okafor, her brother-in-law. After about a week, Henry Okafor called Amaka. "Amaka, I would like to have a conversation with you." Amaka was like, "Okay, no problem. Let's hear what you have to say." Henry said, "Amaka, your husband is dead. Someone has to manage the business, and I am here to manage the business." Amaka turned angrily at him. "Henry, your brother just died less than a week ago, and yet you are asking for his properties. Is that what family is all about now?" Henry just looked at her and laughed. "Ha ha ha. Amaka, the earlier you realize that this is your new reality, the better for you. I am not like my brother who let you take control of everything. Now everything he owns will belong to me, and it's either you stay as my wife or I kick you out to the streets where you belong." Henry kept to his word because after about a week and Amaka was still stubborn and didn't want to become his wife, he threw her into the streets. Amaka had shut down her business to focus on her marriage and her new family, and so she didn't have anything doing. Henry had seized up all the properties of his brother and was now fully in charge of everything. Even the elders couldn't help her because it wasn't a woman's place to drag for properties in her village. She was thrown into the streets, and with nothing to lay her hands on, she started hawking bananas. Hey guys, if you enjoyed this content, turn on your notification and subscribe. Share it to your friends so that they can learn a thing or two. The part 2 of this story will be released shortly. So keep watching and watch out for part 2.